viele alte Kameraden an dir.
So, gentlemen, I welcome you again to another unadulterated rant that will hopefully last, well, not longer than 50 minutes in total. Okay, having said that, let us start. The lathe is cleaning up nicely. I have not really been doing much. I have allowed the ATF to simply soak into the junk and to lift it and wash it off as much as it has the potential to do on its own. I have scrubbed it a bit with a sponge, and as you can see, the waves are cleaning up really nicely. I have not been doing much job, Jesus, much work. There we go, a nice start. But I've been not doing much work, as said, because I've had some other things to deal with. This is the piece that I have picked up from the scrapyard. It's a slab of cast iron, as you can see. It is mostly flat. It's currently leaned over, so it does not appear all that flat, but we shall see how flat it is. Anyway, I'll have to clean it off. I'll have to flatten one surface properly. I'll most likely do it just by using these stones with hand, lapping them between each other every now and again, and generating a flat surface that is going to sit nicely against the mill table. Before I get to any of that, I'll have to actually clean up the lathe like perfectly and do all the metrology shenanigans and establish all the geometry, all the wear patterns, everything, and just to be able to machine actually a proper negative geometry into this as, well, you get the point. If you want something to sit properly on a complex geometry like this, although this is not a complex geometry, but two flat surfaces are complex geometry when you consider how much work goes into just generating two truly flat surfaces that seat and match each other perfectly, let alone having essentially 1, 2, 3, 4 flat surfaces and two V surfaces, another fifth flat surface atop the V, two vertical sections that have to fit perfectly, and another, the sixth flat atop that box section. So yeah, that's quite some bullshit to deal with, and to establish proper heights and widths and relationships and distances between each other, and yada yada, you get the point. So once everything is cleaned off, all the metrology is done, once this is prepared, it gets plopped on the mill table with the flattest and nicest side that is going to be the top side, the visible side. This side that is facing towards here is going to be the bottom side because it has porosity, and this side has zero porosity, which is quite nice. The porosity is going to be removed for the most part because most of it is here in these sections, which are going to be decked off, leaving the central ridge, the integral key. This bit of porosity over here in it that looks like sand inclusion, that, well, casting sand that simply fell into the material and was blown out at some point, is hopefully going to work nicely as an area that I can first spot face, because this is not going to receive a drill with any warm welcomes. But spot facing it, or rather counter boring that shit out and drilling through it, thus starting the first hole of many that are going to go through the central key and are going to allow me to bolt the slab onto the bed, through the bed, by this huge custom T-nut that is going to fit this lower. You can see that there's a reinforced piece over here that strangely looks darker than the rest of the surfaces and everything. But sorry, the framing is really something that I'm a master of, it would appear. But yeah, these holes down the length are going to allow me to fasten it to this T-slot, to this T-nut and to this custom T-nut that is going to be in the tailstock section, where there is actually a true T-slot provision, and this T-nut is going to simply come from below, not having a real T-slot, just butting up against the bed. All of that will provide quite some clamping already, and with the rest of the fasteners that are going to be zigzagged on both sides of the V, and that are going to pass through the box way that you can see over here, and that are going to have a zigzagging pattern with a smaller thread diameter to the side, to the rear, into this flat section of the way over here. I have gone over this in the last video, so there's no need to ramble and repeat myself on that topic. So, with that said, and with that out of the way, let's talk about some other things. Okay, let's not. The piece is 2 centimeters too long, which is perfect, as I want to finish machine all 4 sides, or rather all 6 sides. It is a bit too short. It's not too short functionally, it's just a bit too skinny, because I would like the other piece that is like this to also be thicker, because I could then use it for something that I also have in mind, but we'll get to that at some point. At the moment, let's stick to this. It's a bit too wide, unfortunately, and I will have to machine a bit off of it, because the bed is 5 inches in width, and this is 7 inches in width, or this is 17 centimeters, and the bed is 12.5 centimeters, which leaves this with 2.5 and 2.5 centimeters of unsupported material, which is quite suboptimal in regards to the potential, or rather maximal rigidity of this, that this piece would have if it was just dovetailed in its current shape. Having some material removed from each end, let's say a centimeter, we'll leave 1.5 centimeters on each side unsupported for the dovetail, which will make quite a steep dovetail, which I do not really mind. Also great. So yeah, a bit too wide, not really all that too short, perfectly of perfect height, but unfortunately of that height, because I would like it to be a bit taller. And yeah, that does it in regards to this piece and the lathe for now. Let's move on. This piece I have already covered in no, the last video, or maybe the last video, I'm not really sure, but you have seen it. I will touch on it in some later video. It is being washed off quite nicely by the ATF. This section that looked less than stellar last time that I showed it to you looks, well, 2 times better already, just by literally being doused in ATF and having ATF run over it and simply slowly wash off all the junk. This surface is also cleaning up quite nicely. This bit of what appears to be fretting corrosion, but well, it might really be actually fretting corrosion, is taking some longer time to be removed, but yeah, that'll be cleaned off, and will eventually become part of essentially a horizontal jig grinder in conjunction with this piece, which is why I wanted the other section like this to be thicker, because I could then make a slant table out of it and use it to mount this piece and tailstock for it on the Thiel Conturex on the top of the Thiel. And I'll have to make a small chunk that will allow this lower boss over here and the flat face to clamp onto and to mount onto the vertical table of the Thiel Conturex, which yeah, is going to make a really nice polishing and grinding lathe, vertical jig grinder of sorts. I'm not really sure how to call it, because it will be able to perform quite a lot of things, and it's going to be quite a cute and cool machine when I'm done with it all, but we'll get to that at some point. That is still far off from what I can see at the moment. I have also picked up this piece that you can see over here. It was picked up on the same day that I actually picked up the lathe bed, and this piece over here, this hydraulic Z-axis actuator from the Russian surface grinder. It comes from that same surface grinder from the scrapyard. The top cap, as you can see, I mean, you can technically see, is cast iron. The bottom is the tank is cast aluminum. The pumping element is a threaded insert, a steel piece that you can see. It has a small set screw as, well, simply a drain plug essentially. The threaded insert has a raised section, a tear shape essentially, that was trying to drip from the bottom of the tank down. You get the point, I'm being metaphoric over here. That was simply machined through, bored out and threaded, and this piece simply threads into it. It has an oil level sight glass at the front, which has a recessed window to it, sort of like old church windows. Let me give you a peek at it. As you can see, it does not really go all the way to the bottom. I'm trying to find my fucking finger. There you see where it stops. It does not really go to the bottom, and it wastes a lot of oil because it has a tall sedimentation space, a volume of oil merely reserved for sedimentation. The pump picks up oil from essentially half of the tank and wastes the other half of the oil. You don't really waste it, but you can only use up half of the oil in the tank before you have to add more oil. Which is ideal, really, because you have a sedimentation tank essentially at the bottom, which allows for all the junk that potentially gets into the oil, despite the filter that you have at the inlet, to simply be sedimented out and never to be pumped. Well, first, not to damage the pump bore, and secondly, never to get to be pumped into the ways of the machine or whichever system you're pumping oil into. It's a ridiculously primitive system, as you can see. It uses a lever that is pinned between these two ears in this cast iron cap. It has a piston that protrudes from the top, which has a sort of a mushroom head and a reduced neck below it. The lever has two ears, two fingers essentially, that grip the piston, sort of like I'm gripping the butt of the cigarette. And once you pull the lever down, you pull the piston up. That compresses a spring that is currently in the diesel over here, that seats against this spring seat, or rather a large washer that sits on this shoulder of the piston. You have two O-rings, and that's essentially the whole system. You pull the piston up, the spring pushes it down slowly, and you have time to actuate the axes X, Y, and Z, most likely, being that this is from a manual machine. And it allows you to perfectly oil the whole section of the ways for each of the axes with one single stroke, when compared to those stupid injection oilers that rely on surface tension of the oil film and the viscosity to carry and force the oil into as much of the way surface as possible and to creep where you want it, and hopefully not just be pissed out of well, wherever the ways end, as close to the oiling point as possible. But I'm sorry, I'm running out of the focus, the frame. But yeah, that will do it for the scrapyard acquisitions. Now let's go for the non-scrapyard acquisitions. We'll return to some other scrapyard acquisitions a bit later. I have posted that I have received, or rather been gifted by a generous neighbor, a huge water tank that he was gifted by his own friend that works in uh, water maintenance and a company that deals with water installations and similar shit. It's a huge 300-liter water tank. It's sort of like this bottle, but, well, 30 times as large. And maybe a bit less. This is a bit more than 10 liters, I suppose, but you get the point. It has a thick rubber bladder all over the inside because it's supposed to be used for potable water, both hot and cold. Essentially a home water system that is connected to a boiler and receives hot water. I'll have to remove the bladder just to see the insides of the tank, merely to confirm that there is no rust from any potential moisture bypassing the bladder, if it's damaged somewhere, or I don't know, if it's not sealing properly along the whole length, because it does have a fitting at the top and it does have a fitting at the side, pretty much like this bottle over here, and it does have a huge flange at the bottom, so there's potential for some moisture creeping where you don't really want it, and having a 16 bar rated tank of 300 liters of 16 bar air blow up is much worse than having that same tank of 16 bar water blow up, because 16 bars of water will simply spring a leak, and 16 bars of air are going to blow you the fuck up, especially when you're talking about if it's even just 10 bar. 300 liters of 10 bar air are actually 3000 liters of atmospheric air, so yeah, not nice, really not nice, at least not to be around when it blows up. I'll have to check everything out, and even if everything is perfect, I'll be making a cabinet of sorts, not as chintzy as this one, although this is also quite skookum, but it's still pathetic when compared to what that piece will be. It will have a thick frame, proper construction, with quite some nice legs. I'm sorry, I'm having the material that I want to show as an example covered over here, like these, welded to it, simply extending from the floor all the way to the top. Another piece like that at the top. It will have thick walled sides, some 2 millimeters. One of the sides is going to have slats in the rear that is going to be facing the wall in case anything goes south, that air can be at least vented out. The bottom is also going to have holes in it. Well, holes and slats are essentially the same thing. Slats are just this, holes are holes, but venting geometry. It's gonna have venting holes in the bottom for the same reason. If the tank blows up, I do not want the cabinet to blow up as well, because well, the tank is supposed to be more structural than the cabinet that's gonna be holding it, but having air evacuation ports, it doesn't need to be as structural as the tank itself. It's going to be fully enclosed, sealed. It's going to have probably a door which will be bolted into position. It's going to have a hinge, but it's going to be bolted fully to the frame, just so I can access it. But when there's no need to access it, it's fucking sealed shut like a tomb. It's going to be fully how do you call it? Padded with well, padding material, sort of. I do not really have much other than this chunk of fleece over here to show you, but you get what I mean. Much thicker chunks of fleece or something like that, which will provide both sound cancellation and, well, at least reduction from the system, and will both eat some of the shrapnel should any be generated upon potentially tank blowing up. But let's hope it never blows up, and that I'm just overthinking this and You get the point. It's better to be safe because I do not want to have that tank outside of my shop when I'll be done. Because I do not want to run a long solid line from the compressor to it, yada yada. I want it all to be nicely enclosed and inside the shop. It will also allow me to enclose the compressor, have a small separate partition for it and for its motor and yada yada. You get the point. That piece will be accessed from a separate door from the side that, yeah, just for service requirements. So I do not have to bother with unscrewing the main door, well, the secondary door really, because that door will be opened much more than the door for the bottle. Bottle, that's a good joke. 300-liter bottle, but you get what I mean. That said, yeah, the tank is going to be most likely plumbed to this compressor over here that you can see, the black one. It's a dual cylinder compressor, a piston compressor that is off of Mercedes Actros. It uses coolant, as you can see, and that is fucking great because you can run it like a beast and it will never get too hot. There is no such thing as too hot for this compressor, nor too hard of working, because, well, you can cool it, and it has a ridiculously good lubrication system for a compressor. So being a nice proper industrial piece, it can essentially do work, well, until the end of days. Why was it scrapped? I've got no idea, but it does not really show much signs of damage. It's potentially simply scrapped as part of a regular maintenance. I don't know. Some companies might have some policies of scrapping good parts just as preventative maintenance of sorts. I don't know. There's a whole bunch of good shit that gets scrapped for one reason or another. But I'll have to see how I'll attach it, because you can see that it was mounted to an engine that has a, well, spot face essentially, a mounting surface designed for it, and it was driven by a gear which, well, geared directly to the engine, which I'll have to change for a pulley of some sort or some other mechanism, maybe a chain drive, I'm not sure, we shall see at any rate. But yeah, that's also another project that is going to be most welcome actually, because I have like one, which is two smaller compressors, two this twin cylinder compressor, and three the blue one, all of which are quite some nice compressors, and I don't really have a single compressor actually running because I don't really have a tank. As said, I do not trust this tank, and this is not, this is a water tank, but it's not trustworthy at all. I have this inox tank over there, but I want to use it for another purpose rather than for an air tank. I have this fire extinguisher body, but I also have another purpose for it. I have some of these high pressure cylinders, but I cannot really use them. Where are the others? There, and some are behind the door hanging, because a compressor cannot go past, what, 12-15 bar, and these take up to 250 bar, and that would simply not go. So yeah, that is essentially it regarding my rambling. I'll just show you this small internal ring gear that I have also picked up, and that delights me greatly, because I have another one over there that is a huge beast of a ring gear that you can see in there, hints of at least, but I cannot really fit it to my designs at the moment, as I do not really have access to my Scherer lathe, nor can I run her at the moment to refinish this piece, the outside I mean. But this piece I can chuck on my mini lathe. I can slice it in two. I can chuck the worn section into the garbage, because the section that you can see from the top, the upper half is chewed to fucking bits. It does not look it, but it is chewed to fucking bits. Yet the lower half is perfectly intact. Whoever designed this system obviously picked up a off-the-shelf part, I mean factory, and simply used off-the-shelf part from some other system with a really shallow, well, pinion gear that rode against this ring gear, but it rode only against like half the height of the full ring gear, thus wearing it out much faster than it would have if it was full width. But it's great for me because I have a virgin internal ring gear, which are quite fucking expensive. But just wait until I fucking finish my shop, or rather even start building it. But once it's finished, we shall be making fucking ring gears. What the fuck do you think I bought the Charmille for? And I also have the vertical shaper, which could be primitive CNC'd just to essentially shape or nibble away material and rotate it, thus generating internal ring gears, at least flat ones. No helical geometry, but yeah, we shall get to that when we get to that. But for now, I have this one. I can remove the worn section, and I can make a proper true micrometer fucking handle, rather than just having a handle with a hand wheel, you know what I mean, with a bloody vernier scale and calling it a micrometer handle. No, I mean something like the hand wheel that my surface grinder has. Let me just change hands. And let me try to find something that looks like a hand wheel. This will do. You have a handle on the hand wheel on one side, and you have a balancing knob over here. The balancing knob is not just a balancing knob, it is actually a knurled knob that passes through the face of the hand wheel, and if you want to actuate it quickly, you grab it by the handle, you yank it as fast as you want for quick actuation. Well, not really quick, but quicker than with this. But you also have underneath the face, inside the piece that has the scale, the graduated scale that slides on it, it is a socket that has a ring gear inside it, and through the face of the hand wheel you have that knurled knob that actually affixes to a small pinion gear, and it actuates along the sun gear, for fuck's sakes, that's not the sun, along the outer ring gear, and simply allows you to actuate the hand wheel by incredibly small increments along the way, because you have a major reduction with a small gear running along a large ring gear. And if you want fast actuation, you use the hand wheel or the handle, and if you want it precise, you use the small one. That's a really cool system that both offers ridiculous torque through the small reduction. Well, it's not small, but it's a small knob, and allows for quite some nice actuation speed when you just want to traverse along the axis. But yeah, that's a really cool design that I want to apply to a few other of my machines, and is really easily done with one of these, or well, whichever type of internal ring gear you have. But as said, for one, they are expensive, and for two, they are rare at the scrapyard. I have showed you that large one over there, but that one will be fitted to a much larger machine. I want some of them for my smaller machines. I'm sorry, I'm showing it there, but it's over there. Not for this one at the moment, at least, because this is a full whole-scale project. But my mini lathe could use quite some upgrades, because it's ridiculously not Skookum. I thought it was a Skookum machine because I really had access only to it. I mean, I could use my Schaublen mill, which is a huge machine, but not really huge. a decent machine, size-wise. And a ridiculously precise machine, rigidity-wise and precision-wise, but as said and explained, until I fully service all the lubricants in that machine, being that they are all 50 years old, I'm not turning that machine on. I'm sorry that I have not really filmed me turning that machine on when I first dragged her home, because I did turn her on for a few minutes and I cycled all the gears, but I'm not really willing to do it again. She runs perfectly, like fucking virgin machine, new old stock, but yeah. Until I build a proper shop and move all of my machines there and give them some proper service and maintenance and all that. My mini lathe, and most likely this lathe when I'm done with her, and the mini MCO are going to be what I'm chained and bound to for however long it takes me to actually finish that shop. Because as said, it first has to be built. And it's going to be a huge fucking shop. It's going to be some 115 square meters of shop, 15 by 9 meters length by width. The shop itself is going to be 9 by 9, or rather 9 by 9, a square shop, but the rest is going to be a automotive shop essentially, because I do come from automotive background, and I have had some education in the automotive field as well. Yeah, at least formal education. I have more education in the field of machines, but it is all learned from books and from, well, Joe Pye, Stefan, and people who are generous enough and more than knowledgeable enough to essentially raise all the machinists that humanity will ever need. But anyway, that section of the shop is also going to be devoted to machine restorations, because I will not really be doing automotive work all the time. I will simply be having a huge, a normal lift for the cars, but car lifts are quite large, so that's why I said huge. And I will most likely build it myself. It will be also a custom project. I mean, why the fuck would I pay, like, I don't know, 5k euros for a proper lift when I can simply pay like $100 for a few pieces like this? C channels, as you can see, thick walled as fuck, 1 centimeter thick, and I can simply buy 2 huge lead screws which are never ever going to give way, and I can simply machine some nuts for them, even avoiding that bit of cost, adding I don't know, 2 motors, 1 for each, or adding 2 hydraulic motors to each, and simply having an aggregate running the hydraulic motors from the central pump, and just to keep them turning at the same rate for the, well, most part. And yeah, that's going to be a project in due time, but for the most part, yeah, that other part of the shop is going to be for machine restoration. As I said, I want to pick up machines, I want to restore them, and I want to sell them to people who are going to love them and maintain them for hopefully longer than I will maybe be around, because they deserve it, and they are, well, at least the old machines, like, oh, this Russian surface grinder, this was more of a modern machine, and you can actually see some, even in here, material greed and corporate calculations in reducing the material used, especially in this top section over here. I mean, look at how fucking thin that is. I mean, it's not a structural piece or anything, it's just a bit of essentially visual geometry, but the surface grinder that these pieces come from, I mean, just look at this fucking actuator. Sorry. It could simply be a hand wheel poking from a machine, but no, it's a hydraulic motor with a hand wheel and with a worm gear at the end that drove a wheel. Sorry, I cannot really show it to you, but it's all the way in there. And of course it's out of focus, as you can see. I mean, they don't make machines like that anymore, and that was a machine which is now unfortunately scrapped and most likely destroyed by now. But designed and made to essentially outlast mankind if well taken care of, and if, sorry for the fucking focus, I don't know what's wrong with it. And yeah, they simply do what it was designed to do with essentially perfect performance for as long as there are worthy people who are willing to maintain the machine and to take care of the surfaces, maybe apply some new bushings every now and again, maybe change some bearings, potentially rescrape the ways after like 100 years and apply a faint layer of how would you call it, rulon or turkite. And yeah, unfortunately some of them end up destroyed, but I hope to pick up as many of them as possible during my time here, and to restore as many of them as possible, and simply hand them over to, well, not really hand them over, there's gonna be some cash transactions, but to worthy and loving operators who are going to take care of them and be rewarded for it by the machines themselves and by the effort that I will be putting into those machines, because I plan on essentially scraping them all in as proper precision machines, because there is really no reason why one would ever use a lesser grade precision machine, or scrape in a machine to a lesser grade of precision than 1 micron overall indicated runout along all the axes. There's simply no real excuse for it. A lathe bed like this is small enough to warrant such effort, and if unmolested and if everything is all well and proper, it's rigid and designed well enough to be worth it. And the larger machines, well, the same applies to them. So yeah, I'll cut my rambling here. I have showed you everything that I wanted to show you, for now at least. I'll show you that tank. I have not dragged it in over here because it's a huge chunk of, well, as I said, a huge barrel that I can roll down the yard all the way in front here, but I would have to clean up all of this, and this is like 300 kilos of different pieces over here just in this small area. The head is like 50 kilos, this vise is like 50 kilos, the, how do you call it, for fuck's sakes, the gear is like 25 kilos, this flywheel itself is like 15 kilos or something like that, which is quite ironic because the flywheel is apparently much larger than the gear, but the gear is solid material and the flywheel is greatly reduced for the most part, plus all the rest. And there's some more junk behind here, well, stock, but you get the point. It is used to hold a carpet against the door just to seal it perfectly, because I cannot seal the floor, and I can seal the rest of the U that the door contacts. But anyway, yeah, I'll drag in the tank at some point. I'll start work on that project, and I'll show it to you when that gets underway. I'll show you the cleanup of the lathe once we get to that point, and once we get to metrology. The piece will be cleaned up. I'll maybe record some of that. It's just gonna be angle grinding and hand grinding with those two stones that I have showed you, occasional lapping of them between each other, generating flat surfaces, and then we go to machining once that and the geometry of these of the lathe are established. But I am starting to repeat myself and just ramble cyclically. So yeah, this will do it for today. I hope that I have not bored you to death. Until I get to some more decent work and some more sensible ramblings in the future, I will leave you off at this. I bid you farewell and I wish you all the best. Until next time, bye bye and see ya.